And the reality is we've done this now. I mean, we went to the table 2009. Daniel and I were talking about this. He was building the engine. He's really the technical mastermind behind this entire experience and journey in my career over the last 7-8 years. We wanted to find a way to really report points of compromise remotely, and that was the idea. But we quickly found that that's not very actionable. So folks were like, "This is awesome. You're telling us something's exploding. How do I fix it?" So we're like, "Well, it can't be that hard. Let's figure out some type of remediation process." And we built and automated that. And then over time, we go, "Wow, this is certainly actionable now. We're cleaning up, and there's issues, that we're fixing for a lot of people. But this isn't really proactive. We're really reactive in the sense that someone's already attacked. They've been infiltrated, and we're cleaning it up. So let's protect against that." So we've done it for a long time, and the reality is that's really our research and the way that we've really put the customer at the front of this in a vulnerable place, not giving them just ambiguous pricing and weird, the restraints around we're only going to clean half the site and then you pay us all that crap. We're going to clean the site, and our guarantee is that we can clean the site or you get your money back, right? We're going to protect you, put the firewall and implement these security controls, and you're going to reduce the risk significantly. There's a reason GoDaddy decided to acquire us, right? Because we fit into their go forward strategy of really giving a hell about the customer, because they really have changed their mantra over the years. But they wanted a solution that could scale. We could scale the ability to clean websites to the point where today, even with their load, as we're now servicing over 16 million paying customers worldwide, we have the ability to come in and clean websites, and we're averaging on 90+% of our tickets that come in a cleanup of under 4 hours today. And most of those, it's even lower than that, but the average is around 4 hours. So we've put our money where our mouth is, and we're going to continue to drive this forward into a place where we can reduce that amount of time and increase our customer satisfaction. Where today, our retention rate on customers is close to 99% year over year, because it just makes sense. So we want to continue to help folks, and that's really the idea. And I think that on the cleanup side, that's where people are the most vulnerable, right? It's like, shoot, now I've got a problem. How the hell do I fix this? And there's frankly no solution out there that's going to be able to do it like we can, and at the price points that we can offer.
Yeah.
So this might be a little weird and uncomfortable for all of us, but I'm okay with this, and I'm confident. This is like the beginning of a budding bromance. Things that you're talking about to me, I'm intrigued. Like, I want to come sit down and talk to you some more.
Hey, so you got to consider, I roll with grown men, sweaty grown men for 2 hours a day, 3-4 days a week. Bromances don't scare me, big guy.
Hey, so folks, listen, look, if you were going to say something?
No, go ahead.
I got that wife thing. Well, anyway, look, folks, if you're watching this and you don't know if your site's been hacked or not, take 5 seconds. Go to sitecheck.sucuri.net. I'm sure the link will be in here somewhere. What do you have to lose? You may have a lot of things to find out about that, about your site. And you know what? If you've got a free pass, if you've made it through, again, you're either going to be one who's about to go down or has been down. So Dre, let's take a second, and you've kind of hit on these before, but I want to talk best practices, but I also want to talk just for a second. We had a client come to us with a WordPress website, looked great. Mm-hmm. When we opened it up, he had 73 plugin updates to do. And immediately I just warned him. I said, when we make these updates, something's more than likely going to break. Sure enough, it broke. But along that journey, we also realized that those plugins, as fun or as increasing efficiency as they may be, they become their own source of malicious penetration points. So let's talk about that. What's the best practice on just plugins?
It's hard, right? Like, I get the idea, and that's our biggest challenge. Well, let me step back a second. Our biggest challenge online in general is the end user. That is always going to be our biggest weakness. There's no question. Behavior is our biggest downfall. So we need to, in some way, adapt behavior. How can we influence better behavior, more secure behavior, right? Risk reduction through behavior. But we've got, so that now 70 plugins haven't updated them in 7 years. That's the behavior we want to avoid. It's not the plugins per se. Yes, anytime you introduce more code, that there's more potential for bugs. What are bugs? Bugs are things that the software is not meant to be doing, but it's doing, right? Which means could be turned into a vulnerability or an access point that wasn't necessarily intended. So yes, plugins can become a problem if you have a lot of plugins, but it's really about how we administer those plugins. If you're using trusted sources that's constantly or actively updating those solutions, and they have a strong security sense, and they're following best practices, it's safe to say that those plugins may not cause major issues. Not consistently, right? Plugins and software gets exploited. Like, stuff happens, right? But how do they get through that and fix that? So certainly the more you add, the bigger the risk floor is to have some type of penetration happen at some point. But we've got to make sure that we're doing our part, right? We've got to update that software. We got to make sure not only are we updating that software, but we're using that software as it's intended. Are we setting it up correctly? Right, and we can go back into the security plugins. There's a myriad of them that tell you, oh, I'm going to secure the hell out of you. Well, no, that's not really how it works, right? So you've got this plugin now on your site that tells you it secures everything and you're not getting hacked, but it's got 426 settings. How the hell am I supposed to know, that's a geek, what is supposed to be what and how they really work, right? I didn't write the code. I don't read code that much anymore. Like, that really would be the way to kind of figure that out, right? What is it actually doing? What settings is it actually negotiating, for bad or for good? So imagine the layman or the end user that doesn't really give two hoots. They just want to sell their cupcakes. That to me is a problem. So one, making sure that things are configurable in a way that's not going to put you at higher risk, making sure that things are being updated the appropriate way, and vetting where you're getting this stuff from. Make sure you're using respected vendors that are active in development and making sure that they're adhering to best security practices. That's really important. So to me, in terms of security, it's not about having 5 plugins and throw it at the wall and hopefully nothing happens. It's about reducing risk through using the core principles of safe administration of websites. So I want to make sure, again, that I'm using safe credentials. I'm going to vary those credentials across every single login or authentication I need to use. So I'm going to use it on WordPress. I may not use that for cPanel or my SFTP or SSH access, or across my bank or anything else for that matter, right? So strong credentials and vary them across all your platforms, okay? That's one. Access control. So if you have FTP, don't use FTP. You should use SFTP because it's more secure. It's encrypted. FTP is not. It passes your credentials in the clear. That's one problem, but I think the bigger problem is having 25 FTP accounts when it's only you administering it. Why the hell does everybody have access, right? Each one of those becomes a higher risk, right? Because any of those gets penetrated. If they have admin rights, they can escalate their control into your environment. That's a problem. So reduce them. So if you have a developer come in and they need to do stuff for you, awesome. Have them do that stuff. Give them the access they need. As soon as they're done with their job, remove the access, right? So reduce access in terms of end user access, but also reduce access to your files, right? So there's no reason that PHP should be executing within your images directory. Like, that's just stupid. So if anybody gains access to the environment, they can now arbitrarily execute PHP in a directory that it shouldn't, and that can cause a lot of problems. And that's been proven time and time again. But initially, the big one was the Tim Thumb infection that happened about 4 or 5 years ago. That was included in inactive themes, plugins, and stuff that were in these environments, right? But because the vulnerability was discovered, it could be penetrated. It didn't have to even have these themes and plugins active. It was an ongoing challenge for many years. And I think lastly, in terms of just security practices, again, everything should be updated. You shouldn't leave the stuff just outdated. That's the whole point. You're fixing bugs. You're fixing vulnerabilities with these patches. But really taking a look at your overall control of that environment. That, again, the less people involved, the better. Reduce access, and have everything segmented. So if you have your backups, your log files, your plugins, your themes, 17 sites all in one environment, any one of those can become a penetration point to infect all of it. So one of the biggest problems we deal with today is not just the initial infection, but reinfections, and we call that cross-site contamination. Folks in shared environments will have 50 sites in there, and they forget about 48 of them. 2 are important, and they don't update their stuff, right? And any one of those can be used to infiltrate the rest of the environment. So segment, access control, and good credential management. It's good to go.
And so, Dre, I'm just looking at the clock. You just opened up a whole new can. Do we have another 2 hours? Are you around? I'm joking. Look, folks. Look, this is some real stuff. And we're noobs at this. And to like what Dre's been pointing out, I'm interested. But at the end of the day, I don't have the interest to learn this stuff. I just want to find a good, strong partner. And, you got to do your own research and due diligence. For us right now, Sucuri is a solid partner. They've helped on a number of websites. And the funny thing, you mentioned Tim Thumb. We just saw a site last week that still had Tim Thumb files on it. So that stuff is out there. And it's like anything else. Look, if you have a car, and all of us have cars anymore, they require periodic maintenance. Mm-hmm. And the crazy thing is your car, for the most part, isn't generating you any money unless you're doing deliveries or something like that. But you still take time to maintain your car and keep it up to speed. If you've got a website, chances are good that you're using that website to increase your visibility or directly increase revenue. Why not take care of it, maintain it? And part of that is just maintaining its safety, because there's no worse feeling than being compromised when you know that someone halfway around the world wrote a bit of code and it found its way into your site and is now serving up Viagra and Cialis ads. It's just not a comfortable place to be. And again, we're grateful and thankful and blessed to have met Dre and have these conversations and know that we can reach out to him. Look, go back and check out sitelock.sucuri.net. Sitecheck.sucuri.net. And Dre, what was the URL for the blog site again?
Just blog.sucuri.net. And also, if any of your listeners are interested in partnership, there's opportunities there too at sucuri.net/partners.
Nice. Very good.
We're going to need to circle back and check that out. I think we're already a partner, right?
Yeah, we are. We are. I mean, when we build sites, we always talk to our clients about, making sure they have the security. And then when we bring on new clients as well, because it is important to us. Because, of course, they're going to look to us for the answers, and we look to you for that as well.
But, to Dre's point, being responsible, knowing that this stuff is out there, maybe you and I talk about making that part of our just standard offering.
Yeah.
If we're going to work together, we're going to take the next steps to make sure you're secure and buttoned up and no worries.
Absolutely.
Dre, we'll talk offline on that. Any last words that you want to share with everybody? Because, like I said, I can talk for a couple more hours, but I want to be mindful and respectful.
I'm just waiting for the day I can get you on the mat and we can do a little... pound for pound, big guy.
Whew, that's a big one. I'm going to have to just pass on that for right now. But how about, hey, let's just go eat somewhere first. Let's start this relationship slow.
First we break bread.
That's right.
Nice. And then maybe a Jeep ride. We'll figure it out.
I'm down with that.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate your time today. Everything that you've given us is very valuable for ourselves and for our clients and everyone listening. So thank you.
Folks, go check out Sucuri. Hit up Dre somewhere, some way if you have conversations. Look, just test out there. For us, another big measure of a company is looking at the customer service. And right now, the customer service that we've experienced from Sucuri for over a year is solid. You're not left wondering, did they get my message? You're not left wondering, are they doing business? The notifications are timely. They're updated. Everything gets answered. Couldn't be happy with the service that we've done. So that's just our vote of endorsement for Sucuri.
Yes. So again, thank you and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Dre.
Cheers.